Tuesday. One more day closer to hump day.
Back in Florida.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
excited, man. After learning about how funky the rut is in that state.
The fuck?
He probably wrote his last name on there.
I can't see that shit. I'm fucking old as shit.
No, thanks anyway. No big deal.
Yeah.
But hearing about how funky the rut is down there in Florida. I'm excited to talk to our guest tonight. Under Pressure Outdoors, they got a podcast. Will and Jordan, they're brothers. We're going to be chatting with them tonight. But I'm curious to learn more about Florida. It sounds like kind of a weird, unique state. Not like Michigan, where everything is pretty much cut and dry in terms of the peak times a year. Sounds like Florida is pretty different in that regard.
Yeah, it sounds out of the ordinary when it comes to hunting. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, at least compared to us up here in Michigan.
Yeah, that's true. We're probably out of the ordinary for them. So
Yeah, for sure. That's why I like doing this.
Let's kick it off.
Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast with your host, Brett Bovin. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm excited to learn some more about Florida hunting down there. And the thing that got me the most learning from yesterday was that it's basically year-round hunting. And the public, like you certain times you can't go into the public land, and you can only do certain things when you do go on there. So I'm interested to learn more about that. Yeah, it's interesting to hear. And then I'm curious to hear more about like the how. I think when we had Tiffany on, I think this is when it was like around when CWD happened. With blue tongue and all those diseases that were going around and killing.
The EHD.
Yeah. When all that was going around, so I'm curious to see if that was the reason why a lot of them just basically got kicked out of there and they brought new ones in. So
Yeah, that'd be my guess. But
that was what I was thinking, but I just forgot to ask the question.
Yeah.
Then again.
Yeah, kind of a side note. I don't know if you still have that football button, but I had a couple questions for you about the NFL.
Oh, let me find it. Hang on. I gotta find it. Hang on. There we go.
Football frenzy.
Yeah, buddy. What's the question?
Oh, I was curious what you were thinking. What's going to happen with the Bears with their
The
quarterback
dilemma?
Yeah, like I can't make up my mind if I think they're going to move on from Fields or if they're going to try to draft a quarterback with that number 1 pick.
Why the fuck would they get rid of Justin Fields? And don't get me wrong, I said this about every Ohio State football player, quarterback that's come out of there, that they can't do jack shit in the NFL. I said it from when he was going into the combine and all this, entering the draft as a prospect, stuff like that, that he would be the first one to have a legitimate career in the NFL out of Ohio State. Now you got what's his name, CJ Stroud down there in Houston. He's doing some great things down there.
He looked pretty sharp for a rookie.
But Justin Fields, in my opinion, he's still a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong, I fucking hate Ohio State. They can go eat a dick. But I still he's a great quarterback. He's mobile, agile. He can throw the ball. He just doesn't have a good offensive line. He doesn't have a lot of good weapons around him. He's got DJ Moore. Cole Kmet.
He's a stud too.
I just think if he had more of a consistent offensive scheme and a more consistent offensive line, I think he could thrive in a good running game. Sounds like his running backs were hurt pretty much all of last year. So I don't think that they should necessarily trade away With the first pick, I would trade it away, but keep Justin Fields and pick something else and pick up some more weapons for the offensive side of the ball.
Build around him.
Exactly.
I'm kind of torn, man.
do.
Like, I really like Justin Fields, and I think he's been getting better and better. But I also think that he could have been better, and that he should have been better, given the time that he's been there. But the thing that I'm torn on is that I don't feel like Caleb Williams is the guy.
No, Caleb Williams is not the guy. And the only reason everyone keeps saying Caleb Williams is the guy is because he is very comparable to Patrick Mahomes, and everyone knows how he's doing in the NFL. But no, he's not. He can't throw the ball or shit. He can't read a defense. I'm not Washington, a huge Oregon Ducks fan. I am. So anything from Washington, I hate you. But I respect the players that are coming into the draft. And Michael Penix is a good quarterback. He's got injury problems, but he right behind, in my opinion, it's Bo Nix. He's number 1 in the quarterback. And then you got Jaden Daniels, Drake.
I like him. I like Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
I feel like he would be a good fit. Oh, definitely over Caleb Williams. Yeah. I feel like I've seen a lot of red flags with him. Have you seen his approach with the combine and all that? Like what he's been doing?
Yeah, lazy.
No, he didn't. He opted out. So
that's what I meant.
He didn't do anything in there, and he doesn't have an NFL agent.
No.
He's being represented by his dad.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know. He's trying to call his shots. I don't know, man. He seems like a really high risk.
Yeah, he's rubbing me the wrong way. I
feel like the LSU dude, Daniels, I feel like he seems like a pretty good fit. I don't know. I'm torn. I can't wait to see what happens, but it's starting to heat up now.
Well, I think we're going to try to do a special for the draft on day 1. At least that's for sure. I know we talked about that, so we're going to try and figure that out. But yeah, we got some good conversations for that. I know we're going to hold off on those, but I'm interested to get down to Florida again. What do you say?
Yeah, man. Let's bring in our guest, man. We got
let's just
Under Pressure Outdoors.
Hang on. I gotta find the page with the applause. All right, we're good to go.
There we go.
What's going on, gentlemen? How's it going?
Oh, another beautiful day in Michigan.
Yeah.
What was the weather up there today like?
Rainy, but
45.
Probably about 45, 50. Not too bad.
Oh, odd. It was rainy here, but like 80. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Okay, you don't need to rub it in our face, okay?
Yeah. We're not trying to.
Today, and then we got down to 40 today.
What part of the state are you? What part of the state are you guys in?
So we're in North Central Florida. Our studio here is in Eustis, which is about 20 minutes south of the Ocala National Forest.
Okay.
Just 66. Don't quote me on an exact number, but it's somewhere around 66,000 acres of public land.
Oh wow!
Damn.
Is that your guys' honey hole? Is that your primary hunting location?
It's one. They're there, but you got to hunt it hard because it's kind of like our whole public land system works on a quota draw. So the Ocala National Forest is that quota draw where pretty much if you put in for it, you're guaranteed to get it.
So let me break that down for you though. The Ocala National Forest, like you said, is a huge piece, but it's broken down into three separate wildlife management areas. Four. Yeah. So you've got the Hopkins Prairie Unit.
Yep.
The Church Lake Unit.
Yep.
The Pipeline Unit.
And the Lake Delancey Unit.
Yep. So I know that Church Lake only has limited hunts.
Except for bow season.
It's open during bow season. I think they're all open during bow season.
Yeah.
And that's just like, walk in and hunt during bow season. And we actually have quite a few WMAs like that here where you're walking in and hunting during bow season. But when you get into muzzleloader, then you start seeing quota hunt show up, and then definitely in rifle. And the pipeline unit is the biggest unit, and that's the one they issue. It's pretty much will issue permit for that. And FWC, the Florida Wildlife Commission, uses that permit system to track how many people are hunting in the pipeline unit. But the pipeline unit is mainly guys running dogs for deer. So
I heard that was a Southern thing.
It is a Southern thing, man. And let me tell you what, I've said it once, I've said it a million times. It combines a redneck's two favorite sports, deer hunting and NASCAR. And it is it's really a good time. I mean, it's something that, like, our dad started out kind of that way. And we went when I was a really little kid, like 4 or 5 years old, he had a pack of hounds, got rid of them, and then kind of got more into the stand hunting game. But I went a little bit with him when I was younger, and then I went with some of my friends after high school who grew up doing that. And it is really a good time, and it's really a family friendly way to hunt. You don't have to be quiet. You don't have to be still. Everybody's just hanging out. The community within the dog hunting community is really awesome. And I mean, it's a traditional use practice and something we have to fight to keep alive here, as well as a lot of other places in the Southeast. I think you've got like
South Carolina, Georgia, some in Alabama, Mississippi.
I think Arkansas, you can do it too. Mm-hmm. There's quite a few states in the Southeast that allow that.
That's cool. Yeah, that's a unique way. I've never done it. But I heard that it was common in the southern states.
If you get a chance to experience it, it's something that I would totally advise you to take the opportunity and go do it. Because like I said, it's a lot of fun. And they call it dog hunting for a reason, because most of the time you're hunting the dogs. You're trying to figure out where they're going.
Yeah. So our system, like the Ocala National Forest, is set up in what they call blocks. And it's just a road system that cuts everything. And it's just a bunch of different squares. And they'll drop dog on one end of a block and then catch them on the other end.
Okay. That's cool. Good thing is a lot of the dog collars have GPS trackers on them nowadays.
Yeah, they're using all that fancy Garmin stuff.
Pretty sure that's a law here in Florida. Like, and that was advocated for by the dog hunters, that they had to have that GPS tracking system, which is great. It keeps the dog safe and keeps hunters knowing where the dogs are.
Just as long as they're reliable, and it's not so thick country that it don't work.
That's where you shoot them crossing the road. Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, they used to have up in the forest, they would have the lost dog pen. That back when telemetry collars were the big thing. And telemetry collars, just you're holding up a box with an antenna on it, and you're like moving in a circle. And as you point towards the dog, the beep gets louder. So you move in that direction to find your dog. Back then they had a lost dog box, and it was like a pen out in the forest. If you found somebody's dog, you just go put it in the pen. People would stop by and feed them food, and you could stop by there and check for your lost dog.
That's funny.
But they don't exist anymore with the GPS collars.
Well, can you guys introduce yourselves, get a little background about you guys, and you guys run your own podcast as well, so you guys give a little history on that as well?
Yeah. So I'm Will. I'm the host of the Under Pressure Outdoors podcast, and I started it back in 2020, and now here we are coming on season 5, episode 200 something. And Jordan came in a little bit after that, but I'll let him.
Yeah, I'm Jordan.
Tell his story.
I guess I'm a host as well, but I manage all of our photography and videography, stuff like that. Anything on YouTube that we have, I've shot, and all our social media and everything like that. So if you hit us up on social media, you're more than likely talking to me.
I think I messaged you first though on Facebook.
You did, yeah. You messaged me on Facebook. I thought it was like a spam, because I'm not used to I'm used to being the person that reaches out to people, not the person that gets reached out to. So I saw it and I was like, "What is it? Oh, wow, this is another podcast."
Yeah, I saw that long message. I was like, you know what? I think I need to start trimming that down when I send that out, because you're not the first person to make that comment to me so far. I was like, yeah, let's kind of short and sweet. And yeah.
So
Yeah.
how long have you guys been passionate outdoorsmen? It sounds like probably your whole life.
Oh yeah.
Easily. My youngest memories. I mean, I know I started going with my dad running dogs when I was still in a car seat, right? I don't remember any of that. But I was probably my son's age. I mean, he's 7. When I remember back to going with my dad back then and then dragging this
I was
guy
gonna
along
say,
at some point.
I remember Dad, back when he was still dog hunting, it'd be, "Hey, y'all boys, get out and catch them dogs. Here they come."
Yeah.
You guys still hunt with your dad?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
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 That's
He
awesome.
doesn't hunt much public with us. He's kind of he'd rather just go to the hunting camp kind of guy, but every now and then he'll dive into it with us.
He's gotten more into it in recent years. When we go on a trip somewhere, like a couple years back, we went to Tennessee. He rolled up and went up to Tennessee with us and hunted up there in some old stomping grounds from when I lived up there. And he had a blast, and he's done quite a few public land hunts with us. In fact, this year, hopefully, fingers crossed, we should draw the sandbar deer hunt.
Yeah, that's
that'll be
really
a public
awesome
land
in
hunt.
Florida.
He's going to be on there with us.
Same bar tag.
Okay.
Like SAMBAR.
So let me explain these crazy looking creatures. They're native to Southeast Asia, which if Florida has anything that it's like Texas, everything here didn't come from here. Even the people.
Yeah, Florida.
But the sandbar deer were introduced to St. Vincent's Island up in the crook of the Panhandle up there in the early 1900s. The St. Vincent Island used to be a private game preserve. So you had sandbar deer, zebra, and a whole bunch of other crazy animals that lived on this island. It's only like, what, a 500-yard trip from the boat ramp to the...
500 from the boat ramp to the island's like 100 yards.
Okay. Well, okay. Never been there. So to one end of the island, the other end of the island is like 12 miles away. It's a very long island. Back when it was owned by a private entity, they had all kinds of game species out there. Now, the state of Florida owns it, and it's part of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So it's actually a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service hunt. It's not a regular quota draw hunt. You actually have to pay to put in for it in the state of Florida. And now they do, I want to say they do a whitetail hunt and a sandbar
whitetail
deer
hunts.
Yeah, a whitetail hunt and a sandbar hunt. The sandbar deer is the third largest cervid species, second to elk and moose.
Really?
I have to look one of these up.
Yeah, they have a rack similar to an elk but smaller.
I gotta look this motherfucker up.
Yeah, they're wicked looking. But you're talking like a hind is like a doe is weighing 200 pounds, 250 pounds, and a stag can weigh anywhere from 300 to 450 pounds. And you're going out there on a primitive weapons hunt, so you can use a muzzleloader or a bow and hunt that. And that takes, I think right now, last we checked, it was like 4 to 5 preference points to draw it. And we're in our 5th year this year, so hopefully we'll draw it this year.
Man, that'd be neat.
And the coolest thing about it is you're out there on the island. You camp on the island. You take a boat or take a charter out and stay on the island for the 3 or 4 days you have to hunt.
You plan on bringing the muzzleloader or doing the archery?
Oh, I'm taking a muzzleloader. 100%.
Yeah, I'm not risking it. I'm taking a muzzleloader.
The chances are already so low. I think you're getting like 90 hunters total out there, and they kill 1, maybe 2 a hunt
each year.
Yeah. And
Only 1 or 2 are getting harvested a year, or like
right.
Each hunter.
No, 1 or 2 a year. There's only, I think last I checked, a little less than 100 sandbar deer on the island.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they're primarily nocturnal, and the hunt ends at 3 p.m. So you can't hunt into the afternoon. It's a tough hunt, and I've heard that the island is straight covered in rattlesnakes, and everything is sand and mosquitoes, and it's god awful. But I'm looking forward to it.
That rattlesnakes, count me the fuck out of that shit.
Dude, Florida has everything.
That is
man.
true.
I think this year during bow season, I saw more water moccasins than I've ever seen in my whole life. Or cottonmouth, whatever they'd call them up that direction. I don't know if they have them, but
any water snake is a bad one.
Yeah, I've heard called cottonmouth and that. No, I'm not.
Yeah,
gonna.
those water moccasins are venomous, I believe,
They are, yeah.
Correct.
and they're meaner than piss, I believe, too.
They say they are, but man, anyone I've run across, it's always just kind of been like, hey, I'm in your area. Let me go this direction. And we just go our separate ways. And
If it bites you, you're fucked up.
I would just run.
Man, nobody dies from a snake bite in a first world country.
That's true.
Yeah.
You'd be all right. I'm like completely honest. I am more concerned with getting like alpha gal from a tick than I am concerned with getting bit by a rattlesnake.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I can prevent the snake bite by wearing some gaiters or something like that. But the ticks, there's only so much you can do, and they're here all year long.
Duct tape my whole body. There we go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are my clothes in permethrin for 3 days before I ever put them on.
Mhm. Cedarwood oil. I know they hate that. You could.
I was
soak
looking at
yourself
these
in
photos of
cedarwood
these
oil.
sandbar deers, and they basically look like those red stags in like a weird,
Elkish looking way.
version of a cousin of the elk, basically. At
Dude,
least that's what it looks like.
when you really dig into them, they're such a crazy animal because they actually have a second set of nostrils that's further up their face because they feed so much on aquatic vegetation that they can stick their face in the water and eat and still breathe out of their upper nostrils closer to their eyes.
And where exactly are you hunting these things again?
On
sorry.
In
St.
Florida.
Vincent Island in Florida.
Okay. Man.
Yeah.
So it sounds, like you're right. You can basically hunt anything like you would in Texas down there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not several times in my life. I've had people, buddies like, dude, look at this fallow deer. I've got on camera in my backyard. Got loose out of somebody's pen. Just roaming the woods.
I did find out though, a new creature though. It's called an aoudad.
Yeah.
I learned that a couple of years ago from Kip Campbell from what's his show called again? Red Arrow, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, I was watching that, and he's like, I didn't know what an aoudad was, and he ends up shooting, and he goes, "Oh, well, that's a pretty fucking cool animal."
Yeah. Hey, we got stuff. We can hunt all the way from sandbar deer to iguanas here in Florida. So
Yeah. Iguanas are really bad right now.
What the fuck?
dude, iguana hunting is fun.
That's one of those things, man. If you come down here to hunt, that's one of those things you've got to put on the list. Is the iguana hunting? It's
What do you shoot them with primarily? Like pellet gun?
gun? Yeah.
Okay.
So we
That's
went.
pretty fun.
Was it last year? Wasn't last year. It was the year before that.
It was last year, I think.
July last year,
Yeah,
maybe.
July last year. Yeah.
We went for one of the other co-hosts, Briar. We went for his bachelor party, and we went down to Boca Raton. And when I got down there, like I pride myself from spending a lot of time in the woods, having that hunter's eye, like being able to see the animals, right? And we're down there, and I'm like, man, I thought these iguanas were supposed to be really bad. Like I haven't seen an iguana anywhere. And then we get to the boat ramp the morning of the hunt, and I finally see one, like right next to the boat. Like,
yeah, you're hunting these iguanas from a boat, so you're like idling down canals and shooting them off the bank.
Oh, so I figured you'd just be walking around and
no, because a lot
I
of
figured they'd be in trees and stuff too.
yeah, that's what I was-
they are, but you get a lot of the iguanas in residential areas. So you're in canals and you're shooting them below the top of the bank. So you're down on the bottom of the canal and you've got 6-8 feet of bank, and the iguana's down on that bank side. But after seeing that first iguana, I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's an iguana. Then we get out there and you start to see them. Like the guide pointed us out to them in the grass. And once you see 2 or 3, you're like, holy shit, they're everywhere. You just, for every one we shot, we saw 10. And for every 10 we saw, I bet we missed another 20 that we didn't see.
Wow.
We shot 25. And
How
less
big
than
were
that.
big were some of the ones that you guys shot?
We have
Stand up
one that
real
was
quick.
over. Yeah, we have one that was over 6 foot. So
Holy crap!
yeah,
Damn.
He was holding it, the tail above his head, and the nose was touching the deck of the boat.
Man,
No
that's cool.
fucking way.
And we're
Yeah.
shooting him with a 25 caliber air gun. So
What the
it's
shit?
not no little
yeah.
little Red Rider either. I mean, and they were still taking hit after hit after hit.
Now,
And they eat good.
Oh yeah, they do.
yeah, that's going to be one of my questions was, do you eat them? And then how big do they generally get? Like what would be, is that the biggest they get though?
Yeah, that's about as big as they get. Average size that we were seeing was 2 to 3 feet.
What the fuck was that? Everyone on steroids or some shit?
Yeah.
He just got a chance to hide good.
He's an old bastard.
But no, they eat. You ever had frog legs before?
No.
I've tried them.
They eat they taste very
Chicken
similar
wings.
to frog legs. The tail does, and then the legs taste like chicken.
The legs look like big chicken wings. I mean, like to a T, like a big chicken wing.
Huh.
They were not easy to clean, but they were good eating.
I imagine it'd be kind of like cleaning a catfish.
Yeah, similar to that.
It's like cleaning a catfish mixed with cleaning a hog. Their skin's just real thick and leathery.
You have to like peel it, or do you cut it out?
Kind of a little bit of both.
Okay.
I mean, it was not as easy to peel as we wanted it to be, but not as hard as you might think it could be.
Damn,
That makes any
25
sense.
of those. 25 of those, man. You probably filled a deep freezer.
We thought like, yeah, we'll clean the whole thing. Started to clean the whole of the first one. I was like, nah, fuck this. We're only cleaning the legs and the tail meat. I feel really bad for the dumpster at what convenience store you dropped that off at.
Dude, it was just some random. It wasn't like it was like a food mart or some random gas station.
Their dumpster smelled absolutely terrible after we filled that.
That's
Had to take
alright.
good care of the Airbnb we were staying in and get it all in a garbage bag and get it cleaned up and just go dump it in some random person's dumpster.
That's awesome.
What is there like? What's the season like then for iguana hunting? Or
They're
is it
all
like
year long.
all year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah,
Because
they're
it becomes
invasive.
a major problem.
So you have in the state of Florida, you have a few seasons that are year round that aren't even invasives. I mean, obviously you can kill iguanas year round, you can kill hogs year round, you can kill coyotes year round. But just recently they added gray squirrel on private land. You can kill those year round now. And rabbits have been on the menu year round for quite a while on private land. So, and there's plenty of those and gray squirrel to hunt all over the place.
Huh. Yeah, that's one thing I definitely want to do more up here is more squirrel hunting. I don't know why it is about squirrel hunting, but it's like something up here I've been wanting to kind of do is just to squirrel hunt.
It's fun, man, and it's actually one of the things we do every year as a podcast or as a organization. We have hosted several small game hunts throughout the year in the past few years, and we use that to recruit other hunters and bring them out. And it helps people who are either new to the sport learn to hunt because everybody wants to learn to deer hunt, and that's great. I understand that. Like deer hunting is the king. Whitetail deer is the king for big game. Nationwide, it is the most popular animal we hunt all over the United States.
Yep.
But when you come to me and you're like, dude, I want to learn to deer hunt. I'm like, brother, it's November. I can't teach you right now. I got my own deer to hunt.
Yeah.
But if you want to come and you want to hunt squirrels with us in February, I can walk you all over the wildlife management area and show you deer sign, how to find a tree, what you're looking for. So, because it's still, I mean, the deer are still moving around quite a bit, and you can show people all this sign and show them how to set up and give them a basic understanding in hopes that next September, when it rolls around, if they're in our area, they can go back out and use what they learned there to try and get on a deer.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Killing two birds with one stone.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I love to do a lot of just in general. Like even outside of our hunts down here, I take small game season, which is, it starts during deer season, but I don't really mess with it like personally myself till after deer season. And I'll just go out and scout, but use that scouting trip as an opportunity to go shoot squirrels and stuff like that. Because a lot of our WMAs you can access them year round, but it's only like you can only drive in during season. So unless I want to walk, 15 miles, I'm going to wait till small game season where I can drive in part of the way and then walk the rest of the way.
I am curious. Have you guys had venison from up north, like Michigan, Ohio, in that ballpark where deer are heavily in the winters, in the heavy winters?
So the furthest north that I have hunted and harvested deer is Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Yeah.
I'm just, I was kind of going somewhere with it because I'm just curious. My wife, she's from down south. She's from Tennessee. And she said she's eaten deer from Tennessee and up here in Michigan. Because she married me, so I'm constantly putting meat in the freezer. Oh, fucking king, man. Yeah, fucking right. I'm an idiot. No, and she said that the deer venison, the venison tastes different from down there to up here. I told her, well, maybe they're just cooking it differently. Maybe they're preparing it different. I know a lot of people when they cook their meat, they leave a lot of that silver membrane. I know there's a name for it, but I can't remember it right now. But they leave that on sometimes, or they don't get rid of it enough, and some that can be gamey. So I was just curious if you've had the venison from up north where we were at, and obviously down there from you, if you ever noticed the difference.
From the deer that I harvested in Kentucky versus the deer that I've harvested in Georgia, Alabama, Florida, down here, I haven't noticed any significant difference.
No. I was curious because I know down south they're not going to get as fat and bulky because they don't have to deal with all that.
Yeah, they stay a little more leaned out.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's where she was trying to go from. I don't know what she would, but I was just curious if that was a real thing. I've never talked to anybody really.
I think a lot of that stuff too depends on who processes the deer.
Yeah.
Too, because then you have, like some people may add a certain fat percentage, and then some guys use beef fat, and some guys use pork fat. I mean,
yeah,
it's all a matter of who processed it.
And that's what I've told her before, and other friends that are like, well, I've had deer venison before, and I think it's disgusting. Well, try different ones from different people because everyone's going to cook a different way. So try different ones, and you might find someone's like, you know what, I like the way they cook their meat. So
let me tell you a funny story about that. So my mother-in-law is one of those people who thinks that she just hates venison. Okay, it tastes terrible. And she told my wife, she's like, I don't know what it is about your meatballs and her spaghetti and meatballs. She's like, but yours are so much better than mine. And I'm like, I know what it is. Okay. Yeah. You might not know, but I know what it is that makes them taste better. The only difference in recipe is she's using venison versus beef.
That's funny because my grandpa, we had him over on, I think it was 4th of July, and he hates venison. But my dad, we made up like this nacho type deal. And he told him it was beef, but really it was venison. He goes, "Oh man, that was the best fucking nachos I've ever had." And it's like, "Oh, you just ate venison, Grandpa, so you like it now."
I feel like sometimes you're better off just not telling them that it was venison, because a lot of people, like, they start getting weird and like they start feeling sick and they're like, "Oh my God."
Oh, dude, you can do that with a lot of.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you can do that with a lot of different meats because one of our other co-hosts, Jim, it's right around the time we'd first met him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we went down to a local WMA to do a podcast with a guy that was quail hunting, and he like had some antelope and some other meat in one pan, and we're eating. I was like, "Damn, that antelope's good." And he was like, "That's not antelope." I was like, "What is that?" He's like, "That's crow." I said, "Do what?" He's like, "Yeah, that's crow." I was like, "Dude, I'd have never known. I'd have thought that was all antelope."
If you're passing up on crows, and I mean them black squawking birds, you are missing out. That is some rich, dark red meat that is just good.
I saw that guy said, ask him about those damn banana spiders.
Yeah. That's our other co-host, Jason, the homeless hobbit, and message to ask you about that.
I have those things will ruin a day if you're looking down, you got a headlamp or something on, you're looking down, you look up, and then you got a spider that's like the size of your hand directly in your face, and then his web just wraps around your head, and then you're all of a sudden slapping yourself trying to get it off it.
But don't forget to talk about the fact that there's web. Like you run into a regular spider web walking through the woods, you're like, get it off me. No.
Yeah.
A banana spider web.
It's like running into a wait a minute vine.
It's like running into like 8-pound monofilament. Like it is ridiculously strong. Yeah, no. But we used to run around and shoot them out of their webs with a 22.
They get that big?
Oh yeah, dude. They're like
the size,
4 inches
like the
around.
size of a good hand. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the palm of your hand, big.
Fuck that shit. I'm gonna be bringing around a machete everywhere going. Why do people live in Florida if they got these creatures down there?
If you walk around with anybody in Florida in the woods who's spent any time in the woods, the guy in the front is carrying a stick that's at least 2 feet over his head, and he's pointing it out in front of him.
I'll say he looks like he's doing some Harry Potter shit, just waving it around the whole fucking time. He's.
Well, you know those professional camera guys where they have like those backpack things and they got that weird thing in front of them. I would have one of those contraptions and put like a weird net around me, and I'll lead the way going that way. That's how I would do it.
Yeah, you got to do something.
Yeah. There's probably going to be a bunch of them when you're on that one deer hunt on that island.
Oh, the sandbar. I don't know, man.
Sandbar.
Those that island's mostly pine, and those banana spiders hang out a lot in like our oak hammocks or like where it starts to get kind of real hardwoodsy. There's where they hang out, and that island's pretty much strictly pine.
Oh, okay. That's good.
That's another thing, like here in Florida, when we're focusing on whitetail itself, is we look a lot for like where our pine meets like hardwoods or like our transition areas where they change from one type of woods to the next. Mm-hmm. Those deer travel those hard.
Yeah, that's one question I meant to ask was, so Florida is obviously a swamp state, basically. And so what are you looking for those mature bucks? Because obviously a lot of people are like, oh, you want that mature buck, you want to go in the swamp area. But you guys kind of have a lot of swamp, a lot of hardwoods too in certain places. So what are you looking for that makes you like, you know what, I want to spot this spot?
So Florida goes from down in the far south where you're opening up in July, like their zone A is just from like the north side of Lake Okeechobee and south. And they're opening up July 29th last year is when they opened. And they're going to run to January 7th. A lot of that down there is flatland swamp area. That's all where the Okeechobee drains south. You move up to where we're at, we open more of like a traditional southern deer season. We open in September, close in January, and we're in zone C, which is the biggest zone in Florida. So Florida's broken up into 4 zones: zone A, zone B, zone C, and zone D.
I would say zone D is like real small.
Zone D is like the northwestern panhandle area, and a lot of that looks like southern Alabama. It's hardwoods, agriculture. It's not as heavily populated as we are here in zone C and everything south of us. But like down here where we're at, swamp is very prevalent, but what we have the most of here in zone C is palmetto flats. I'm talking like you climb 15 feet up a palm tree and you can see for a mile if the palmetto flat is that big across there. Wow. And it's really hard to like judge that area because everything is so thick. You're not creeping through those woods. Nothing's quiet in there. But you look at those transition areas, like Jordan was saying, between where you have the palmetto flat and it bumps off into a swamp, the deer are moving right there on the edge of that palmetto flat, but they're also going to go in bed in the middle of that palmetto flat. So they're going to come out of that area out there. And the big thing I think that's really going to change the game for us this year is we went from using Onyx to using Spartan Forge. I don't know if you guys know what that is.
Yeah, I've noticed that's kind of been more of a new upcoming scouting app.
Dude, they're going to change. They are changing the game. So with the LiDAR feature, and a big thing with us in the LiDAR feature, they have LiDAR maps. And what's changing the game with that, with the palmetto flats, is we have
zero topographical.
Right. But we have a fire season down here, right? So we burn control burns every year, or prescribed burns what they call them now, and they burn all that stuff. What you don't see when you're looking at a topo map or looking across a palmetto flat is where they cut fire breaks in there. When you look at the LiDAR, you can see those historic fire breaks running across the palmetto flats, and the deer are still using those historic fire breaks. Without having the LiDAR, I never would have known that was there. I mean, we had a trail last year where we hunted on an island, which I'm not going to name, where you just happened upon it.
Yeah, I was walking through the woods and I was like, oh, damn, there was a road here I could have been using the whole time.
Right. And would you look at it on LiDAR and it's there, it's clearly there.
Yeah.
Through LiDAR. But being able to see those old roads, and I'm talking like you look at like Onyx and it's like, oh, the road ends here. If you're on Spartan Forge and you flip over LiDAR, you're like, nah, no, it don't. It keeps going for another 1.5 miles, and you can still see it through there where everybody drives around the sign or there's a fire break or whatever. And the deer are still using that trail to get through thicker stuff. I mean, it is so unbelievably thick in some of the areas we hunt here. I mean, we had a turkey hunt last year, and me and Jordan walked in. It took us 45 minutes to cover 400 yards, maybe.
Yeah.
From where we parked the truck, where we walked in the dark, and no lights or whatever, but you're just getting poked in the face with this, that, and the other, and it was god awful thick. But when we got to where we wanted to be, it was open enough to kill a turkey. And of course, I'm a terrible turkey killer. Did not manage to make that happen. But
like I say, you have two different there's kinds of hunters in Florida too, because like William loves his palmetto flats, but I'm that guy that's gonna we're gonna hit the woods, and he's probably gonna head towards the palmetto flats, and then I'm going to head towards a swamp. If I'm in a swamp, I want to try and get, and this is another feature where you talk about I can use that LiDAR, is I want to try and get in that swamp, like deep in that swamp, but I want to find the high ground within that swamp where it's going to stay pretty much dry year round. So
you're looking for kind of like a swamp in a swamp type deal. Like,
yeah,
it's solid. Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking for like almost like an island within the swamp.
Yeah.
And then the big mature deer host up in those drier areas, and they may kind of work between dry area to dry area. But if I'm hunting a swamp, I'm trying to get in there, and I'm hunting like a drier area within it.
Now, LiDAR, is that, I'm assuming that's live radar?
It's laser imaging something light.
Yeah.
I don't have my phone. Google that acronym.
Yeah. It's it has to do with somehow like with the way light reflects off of the ground and back to the satellite.
Yeah, they use lasers, but they take a picture of the ground beneath the canopy. So you're seeing with Spartan Forge, I think you're seeing up to 1 meter change. So 2-3 feet. In change of elevation, which you're not seeing that on any topo map.
Light detecting and ranging.
Yeah.
So what made you guys ultimately say, you said you were using Onyx, correct? Because I'm using Onyx, and I've been dabbling with Spartan Forge. Is that correct?
I was using Onyx. Now I'm using Spartan Forge. Yeah.
So
how much does that cost?
It's cheaper than Onyx.
Yeah.
So for me, for someone that's using Onyx that's dabbled in Spartan Forge, I've kind of been like, I don't know if I want to keep it, move on, move past it. Let's use Spartan Forge. What sold you to be like, you know what, Spartan Forge, this is going to be.
I was going to say, to be honest with you, what really sold me was I was on a Facebook page, and I saw somebody say something about Spartan Forge this, and then I saw somebody comment back, which was William Thomas, or what's his? Yeah,
Bill Thomas.
Bill Thomas. And he said, "Hey, bud, if you're having problems, I'm the owner. Message me. I'll help you out." So
really,
yeah. And I messaged Bill, and then me and Bill went back and forth for a little bit, and we ended up having him on for a podcast.
Oh, that's cool.
And Bill is just like the most clean cut, like straightforward, going to tell you how it is, and he's just a jam up guy.
I'm going to tell you a few things that are unorthodox that sold me on Spartan Forge. Number one, when you have the free app, you still get the property owner information for free. And I asked him why, and he said, "Why would I charge you for that when the government, you already pay for it in your property taxes?" You paid the government. Why would I charge you for that?
That's what I've been wondering on all the other ones. It's like, what the fuck? It should already be there.
Right. So that right there, green flag number 1. Number 2, he is all about the first thing he updates in his app is the maps. There's number 2. Like his main concern, and I can tell you from starting with Spartan Forge and having 0 aerial imagery, which is ungodly clear in Florida, like next to none. Like the aerial imagery, I can zoom in and see you standing in your yard.
That's that clear.
It's that clear.
Wow.
To that, and then all of a sudden, bam! After we started using it, it started popping up here. He uses his user base to update his maps there first. So wherever he has the most users, he jumps and says the most updated maps need to go to this group. But you guys being in Michigan, he's got a lot of guys up that way, so you should have quite some really awesome maps. So he updates it wherever his biggest user base is first, and he's constantly looking at his user base and diagnosing problems and changing things. And then number 3, if you bought in today, I think it's like $60 for the year. If you bought in today at $60, and 3 years from now he changes the price to $80, guess what you still pay? $60. As long as you continue to renew that membership, your price will never go up.
Wow, that's.
Yeah, and he's got the Blue Force tracker too. So if you're hunting like private land, or I mean even public,
you're hunting with buddies.
Yeah, if you're hunting with buddies, you can set a boundary, and then you do like a team with your Blue Force tracker, and whoever, like if Brett drops a pin, and as soon as Brett drops that pin within that Blue Force tracker boundary, Dan can see it.
I've always that seems awesome because I've always looked at other ones like I think it was Hunt Stand. I thought it was a cool thing that they were having where you could have like reserve a tree stand type deal.
Right.
But to me, that one, I didn't like the way it was set up. And what you're saying right there, I was like, man, that's brilliant. I think.
So
he's even working on some AI.
I say the AI is there. With Blue Force Tracker 2, you can see real time where each other is at when you're logged into that group. And you can, obviously admit and decline people from your group you're hunting with. But with the AI, like if you're using your pins in the journal feature in the app, if you're when you drop a pin, you don't just drop a pin that's a random pin. You drop a pin there and you move it to saying it's a scrape or it's a rub. And then you update that pin, you put it in a journal for it, all this other stuff. When you put it in a journal for the pin saying that I found this scrape on this day, it automatically absorbs the weather data for that. How fresh you think it is, all this stuff. You keep putting in you input all this information into the app, and then the AI generates, it'll tell you like, hey, that buck you've had on camera, he should be here on this day based on weather data. Because you're looking at, like, say you've got a buck on camera and he shows up, you look at your camera now and he's like, oh, he shows up every 3 days. Like, well, that's great. So I got to figure out what third day he's going to show up. What you don't realize when you're not tracking that stuff is that he shows up on your camera every time there's an east wind. But if you put in that data into the Spartan Forge app, it'll tell you, hey, this buck is going to be here tomorrow because there's going to be an east wind.
Oh, wow.
Or it'll show you the opposite. Like he only shows up when there's not an east wind. Vice versa.
Okay, so that app includes weather and all that stuff too, and you can add your trail cameras and all that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
the coolest part about the app that I think for me, even for like guys who duck hunt, which is a thing we'll cover here in a second in Florida, but there's a real-time wind data. If you look at your compass over in the bottom left-hand side of the screen, there's your north, which is white, and a blue arrow that keeps pointing in all different directions. That's your wind as it changes. It's always there. Like you don't have to search for it. It is live on your screen at all times.
That's cool.
I'm focusing on this conversation. Don't get me wrong. I downloaded the app again.
Me too. I just downloaded it.
Hey, if
you got to go back into the early 200s, like 202, 204, something like that. There's a discount code in our podcast for 20% off.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll do that.
But you have to go through their website.
I was going to say delete. If you have an account, delete your whole entire account, and then you
I
have
don't have
to go
one.
to.
Okay, I don't have one.
Make your account on their website.
SpartanForge.ai.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you can use that code to get your 20% off.
He won't use the code, or they can't use the code on the App Store because the App Store takes like a certain percentage of it.
Yeah, too much money.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna redo that after the show because yeah, I saw Spartan Forge I saw it. Shit, I don't know. A little while ago, the first person that I saw it was Levi Morgan advertise it on his show. That's when I first saw it on whatever. I can't remember the name of his TV show that he has, but that's where I first saw Spartan Forge. That it came on my radar.
Yeah, so I think it popped up in the Mobile Hunters group.
Yeah,
on Facebook. That's where I see it pop up the most.
Mm.
Yeah, I haven't had a hunting nap yet, and that was something that I've been kind of looking around because I knew that I needed to get one.
Overall, I think the biggest thing that drew me to it being in Florida was that we have zero topographical change. And the only way I can see what changes on the ground is with this LiDAR.
What was that?
I hit the springs on the micron.
It sounded like somebody busted out a guitar and just
yeah,
a quick little strum.
Yeah. That's the only way I can see any change on the ground here in Florida. Because if I try to pull up topo, it doesn't show me squat.
Yeah. I was always wanting to see underneath that the tree canopy and see really what's kind of going underneath. And
yeah.
So go ahead.
No, what were you gonna say? I was gonna say you said something about duck hunting. And I was gonna say.
I was gonna get to that. So I alluded to duck hunting earlier, and we have like over 12 million acres of public land here in Florida. We're I think New York is the only state that barely beats us this side of the Mississippi for public land. And 6 million of that is under control of FWC, but you have other entities that control other public land hunting opportunities. But duck hunting in the state of Florida is one of those things that's kind of overlooked quite a bit. I think because we're not Arkansas, but you can come here, you have to come here to scratch off some of the birds off that. How many birds are on that list?
The duck
life list, 30 something. I don't know.
I'm not that far into it.
I like the duck hunt, but I like the duck hunt when it's shitty deer hunting weather. But you have to come here to kill a mottled duck. You have to come here to kill black-belly whistlers, fulvous ducks.
Shooting black bellies in Texas.
Yeah,
not as well as you can here. It's not as easy.
Not as easy. Black bellies, fulvous, mottled ducks, they're all here. You've got to come to Florida. But Florida, as far as a duck hunting state goes, dude, I don't know. I'd say it's one of our best kept secrets, and then I'm letting it out. But it's already overcrowded as it is because there's quite a few duck hunters here, but we don't have a distance rule. So you just safe direction is our rule.
Okay.
2, if you can access the lake via public boat ramp,
you can hunt it.
Get after it. So you can come in here and smash the shit out of some wood ducks and ringers.
I was going to say that. I'll bring that back later. I was going to talk about our high water mark deal.
But the duck hunting here in Florida is actually pretty good. And you think about everybody has early teal. And we quote unquote get an early teal season. We also get an early wood duck season where we can shoot wood ducks in September for the first 4 days of duck season. The limit is shorter in early teal and wood duck than it is during regular duck season. I'll say it's 2.
Yeah.
2 wood ducks and 4 teal or 6 teal. And then during regular season, you get 4
wood ducks.
Yeah.
3.
See, it shows you how much you know about duck hunting. We have a resident population of wood ducks here, and then during regular duck season, dude, you can kill blue wings, green wings, pintails,
redheads,
Go out on the coast, you're shooting canvasbacks.
Yeah, ringneck is that is Florida's bread and butter. You can shoot just dumb amounts of ringnecks.
Is it easy to identify these ducks when you're hunting them?
Man,
or have you ever had an encounter where you shoot one and you think it's one, and then when you retrieve it, you're like, oh shit.
I was going to say, once you've kind of sat in the blind with somebody that knows what they're doing, and they're like, oh, hey, that's that duck, or hey, that's that duck. And then you watch them. Once you've watched them so many times, you can watch a duck and just see the shape of its body and go, oh, that's that.
Okay.
Oh, the best thing I can equate that to is like when we go and we do a snipe hunt. You familiar with hunting snipe?
No.
Okay, so it's not just a thing where somebody takes you out in the woods and they give you a bag and a flashlight and they leave you there. Like, you familiar with that kind of snipe hunt?
No.
Oh, really? Oh man, I broke a good secret. So when we were kids, I'll start with that. You take somebody on a snipe hunt, you take them out in the woods and you explain to them that a snipe is a really dumb bird and like a dodo bird, and you're going to push it through the woods and they're going to catch it in this bag and club it over the head. Here's a flashlight. Here's a trash bag. You just leave them there.
Yeah, you just walk back to where you came from and leave them in the woods.
Has anybody ever done that to you?
Oh, 100%. That's how we learned about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Your dad did it to you, didn't he?
Oh,
What?
yeah. And our uncle.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
But snipe is actually a real bird, and they've got a long beak and they taste absolutely delicious. They look kind of like if you envisioned a sandpiper. They got a real long beak, but they live in a marshy area, right? And down here in Florida, you'll find them a lot in like flooded cattle fields in the early fall to late fall. And we just absolutely destroy those birds. Now, you get out there and you get to walk, and it is like Florida's upland bird. You're going to get on a line. You can use a dog. You're not going to point them. You use a dog to find them because they're next to impossible to find once you kill them because they camouflage so well. But you get on a line, you're walking across like a field with 2 inches of water in it, and they're going to jump up. You're going to shoot. They fly super erratic. They're really hard to hit, but they're so much fun to hunt. But when you're doing that, another thing you're going to encounter is meadowlarks. And I can't tell you how many times I've brought new guys out and I'm like, nah, don't shoot that. It's a meadowlark. And you learn from snipe hunting the way they look when they take off different than a meadowlark does. So over time, you learn like the wing beat and the flight pattern of different birds, how they fly through the air, and you learn to identify that. And then you know that's shoot or don't shoot.
Okay.
Now, how long would you generally take to be like, you know what? Would it take 3 years, 4 or 5 years for you to say, to feel comfortable and feel like I know all these birds, I could figure that shit out
If
easily?
you ask people on Facebook, most of them are just going to shoot it and then send a picture to Facebook and say, hey, what is this?
Yeah.
I would say, like, honestly, from a perspective of you started hunting ducks well before I did.
Yeah.
And I came in with you. It took me probably, I would
close
say,
to it in a year.
Well, I'd say 3 hunts before I could recognize a wood duck. And then a year of doing it pretty steady before I could delineate a wood duck from a teal, from a ringneck, from this other stuff. When it comes to hunting snipe, it took me probably 3 hunts to delineate a snipe from a meadowlark. But that was also on top of already understanding the different ducks that fly through the air. Now, I don't claim to be an expert. Like, I couldn't tell you in flight the difference between a ringneck and a bluebill.
No, that would just be...
If you had one,
Yeah,
so
the
you're in
sun
very
hits 'em
different
right, yeah.
areas. You're in very different areas for the two, but they look extremely similar. So I don't know, man. It just takes experience. And if you're going to go duck hunt, I would advise you to go with somebody who knows and just listen to them and watch. But dude, the Ducks Unlimited app has really good photos and stuff you can help identify birds from in the air.
I don't even think we have. I don't know about you, Dan. I don't have anybody in my family that's duck hunted before, except for maybe my
I
uncle.
went one time. I went for a youth hunt when I was like 14, and I shot a goose and a wood duck, and it was a good time, man. One of my good buddies, his family dabbles with it, but I don't have any buddies that are hardcore duck hunters.
Yeah, that's the way it. I kind of like, when we was still gone in the military, and I kind of got like deeper into duck hunting. I went as far as to like buy a mud bow and everything, and then it just kind of got to the point where I was like, yeah, this is fun, but I think I'd rather chase whitetail. So like William said, I duck hunt on. I still have the mud boat. I sold the motor off of it, so I got a boat in the backyard with no motor on it. But I would rather use the boat at this point to water access whitetail than use it to duck hunt.
No, I am pretty good on the Nintendo. Don't get me fucking wrong, man. You put that toy gun in my hand, I'm fucking lethal.
I was gonna say the first time I ever duck hunted was when it had that little projector on the wall, and the little duck flew across the wall, and you had the shotgun.
Yeah, the first time I had it was those little toy guns, and you had a little weird black disc that you threw into the Nintendo, whatever it was. I always go to my my uncle's house on Saturday nights for them to play cards, and me and my other two buddies, I always went over there, and that's all we'd fucking play. That and Mario Brothers.
Dude, we never played many video games. It was always just our dad drug us into the woods enough to where I think we'd rather go out in the yard and shoot squirrels and crap than ever.
Well, they brought us over. We were like 12, 13 years old, and then they always brought us over at 9:00 at night. So it's fucking black and like, all right,
that's the only thing there is to do.
Fucking play in that room. And there's a couple of times where I shit you not, I came over there one time, because we called it fight night. That's what we did basically. And I came over, and they're like, "Hey, did you see that red stain on the wall?" I'm like, "Yeah, what the fuck is that?" "Oh yeah, that's Jordan's blood from his nose. I just beat his ass a couple minutes ago. So you're next." I'm like, "Oh shit." Yeah, that was my Saturday nights growing up as a kid.
I'm not sure what I just walked back into, but step out.
Yeah.
But good God.
Talk about Fight Club.
I thought we weren't still hunting to Fight Club.
I thought we weren't supposed to talk about Fight Club.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how we haze in the new guys.
Oh God.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, and talking about, I just mentioned water accessing whitetail, which is another huge thing here in Florida, because we live within very close proximity to the St. Johns River, which actually runs backwards, south to north. So we use the St. Johns to access a lot of whitetail, and in doing that, there is a gray area within Florida statute that what's it called again? What am I done? I already forgot.
Historic high water mark.
Yeah, it's sovereign land.
Yeah, submerged sovereign land.
Yeah, submerged. We have submerged sovereign land. So technically, off of the river or other, I just say off the river because
let me would pause you for a second. You can imagine that as if because we have free access via public boat ramp to waterways. They're all public unless it's private and has its own private boat ramp. If there was a lake bed that was accessible by public, and now there's a river that runs through it, and the lake bed no longer exists, you can still hunt within that lake bed because it's still considered public land.
Okay. So it kind of opens some doors.
Yeah. So like if I'm on the river, and like the way I would interpret it with your 100-year high watermark is if I am on dry land, but I am still within the watermark that is on the trees, I can still technically hunt that area. But that's the way the law says it as well, is that it's left up to the interpretation of the officer.
Yeah.
So it really depends on what kind of in that day.
It's one of those gray area ones.
Yeah.
So if you shoot a 200 incher, then they're going to jam you up and seize the deer. And
if I shoot a 200 incher, I'm damn near the Florida record.
No kidding.
Yeah.
We just talked to the Florida record guy not too long ago, and it was 206.
Yep.
And now we're talking to the guy who is he second or third? Third in line by an inch or so.
Yeah.
He just killed it last year, and it's just a little over 200 inches. But in Florida, so you talk about deer size in Florida. Obviously, everybody will tell you the deer here are tiny. Well, yeah. I mean, it's 80 degrees in January.
Right.
Of course they're tiny. If they were the size of Michigan deer, they would die because they'd overheat. So you get smaller bodied deer here. And then we don't have a lot of agriculture and things like that around us. So your racks are generally smaller, but we have a thing here in Florida called the Florida Registry Program, and that starts at 100 inches. So that's kind of our benchmark, is that 100-inch deer. Like that's a good deer. You kill a 100-inch deer in Florida, you've got a registry buck. That's a good thing. I mean, I killed a 6.5-year-old buck a couple of years ago. He was definitely on the decline, had a wacky rack, but he was nowhere near 100 inches. So what did your score?
104.
104.
Well, that was gross. So the one I killed this past year grows to 104, but then he had a kicker out the back, and one of his brow tines split into two, which were both deductions, which put him down to 98.
Oh,
yeah, so just shy of registry.
Yeah,
but like they say, nets are for fishing. So he's a 104-inch deer.
If you don't have that many ag lands, agricultural property, then what are they kind of feeding on mostly to kind of help sustain that?
Acorns, man.
Acorns, palmetto berries.
Yeah. Oh, palmetto berries are a huge one. Yeah,
that's a big one here. You still have blackberries. You have wild muscadine and scuppernong grapevines that grow all over the place. I mean, I have a huge grapevine that I did not plant that grows all down the side of my property back here every year. And so we have quite a bit of wild forage here that deer can eat on.
There's a lot of fernery too that they'll. Yeah. But that's too, you hear a lot of people that you talk to people from Florida, and they're like, they're going to bitch and moan because, oh, we can't shoot does and we need to be able to shoot does. And that's why we don't have big deer, because we can't shoot does. And we talked to what was it, Lindsey Thomas with the National Deer Association. He made the most sense to me out of it. And I used to be that guy who was like, oh, you can't shoot does, it's dumb. But the way he said it is like, we don't have, because we don't have agriculture, our natural brow doesn't hold enough nutrition to sustain us to be able to shoot like a regular amount of does and still sustain a population.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Because of the agriculture or the lack of it. Not as much food source, so there'd be more competition.
It is. Our area of Florida is like pretty much a sand ridge. So like when Florida was underwater, it was an island. It is like what we call sugar sand. It is just white sand. It's almost like beach sand, but we're in the middle of the state.
During the Ice Age, where we're at right now, was like the Florida Keys. We were above water. Even if you look at all the maps of like, oh, if all the ice caps melted, this much of the U.S. would be underwater. Where we're at in Florida, we're still good. We're high and dry. We're like 30 feet above sea level. But
so you guys don't have to evacuate often then?
I've never evacuated.
Yeah.
For hurricanes,
so we're going to Walmart and buying beer.
Exactly. We're so far inland. So we're actually almost center of the state. I think we're like 40 miles from the East Coast and like 47 miles from the West Coast, straight line distance.
Okay.
Where we're at. So when hurricanes hit, like unless they make landfall in like New Smyrna, Daytona, and head directly west, we're all right. We might lose power. I mean, we lost power for weeks at a time. When Irma hit, you guys lost power for what, a week and a half?
Yeah.
But for the most part, we don't get a whole lot of damage here. When Ian hit a couple years ago, I think I didn't lose power at all, actually, or internet. So,
what's it like to hunt after a hurricane?
Dude, you would be surprised how well the deer move after a hurricane. I mean, you would be surprised how well the deer move during a hurricane. I mean, I have buddies. I got a buddy close by that had a deer that he's been hunting for the past couple years, and it just seems to elude him like no tomorrow. But you can guarantee every time a hurricane hits, that buck shows up on camera.
Really?
Middle of the day.
That's a pattern.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's an odd pattern,
Yeah.
but it's a pattern, I guess.
Yeah.
Good luck sitting in a tree during a hurricane.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. If you want to risk it for the biscuit, go
Yeah.
out there
Only
during the
problem is,
hurricane.
yeah, it's the only problem is where like I like to hunt the swamps and William likes to hunt his palmetto flats. William's still going to be able to hunt dry land. I'm going to have to find a new spot to hunt until the water goes back down.
So
yeah.
After Ian hit, we've hunted this island 2 years in a row. So Ian hit and the St. Johns River went way up over its banks. So it hit down
Probably,
south.
5-6 feet over.
Yeah. So it hit down south, and because the St. Johns flows north, it pushes all this flood water up towards us. Ian hit like Fort Myers area. I went down there and worked, and after the hurricane, and it was like devastation. It was awful. So we come back to hunt, in the island we're hunting on. Like we pull up in Jordan's boat and we're like, well, this is where we're supposed to park, but how deep? Like poking a paddle in the water, like, oh, it's too deep. So we pulled his boat up the walking trail until we could just jump out of the boat on the dry land.
It's probably 100 yards or so.
I bet it was more than that. And then went and just jumped off the boat into like, ankle deep water, walked out and hunted. There was a poor soul who got upset with the fact that we went past where he parked.
Yeah, he called the DNR on me.
Yeah, he called the game warden. We went past him and up there. Dude, he had to swim because I saw this year when we went back where the water was last year. It was like 6 feet deep. Like he had to be jumping out of the boat with a life jacket on, swimming 50 yards, and then walking in waders.
What the fuck?
That's probably why he caught the DNR, because he was just pissed off in general.
Well, he probably called the DNR because he was only 250 yards from us when I shot that buck, and I know he saw it. Yeah, because we're on the Palmetto Flat. I could see him sitting on the other side of the on the other side of the Palmetto Flat. I know he could see us, and I know he heard me shoot that deer. And at that point, that was insult to injury because we were there for several days prior to that, and he never said a word until we shot the deer.
Oh my God.
He was just salty.
Yeah. You know what's funny is actually last year when we went back to hunt it, I walked out of the woods, and one of the evenings we were there, and the game warden was sitting there where we parked the boats. And I was talking to him about the year prior to that and the water being high. He's like, yeah, I would have just, paddled my boat on up through there. And I was like, huh, funny you say that, because the game warden last year said we couldn't do that.
I did actually have a quick question because the game warden reminded me of it. What would be a law that you would like to see changed in Florida?
I got mine.
Or have it be implemented?
Let me hear it.
It's not necessarily a law, but I would like to see our bear hunt happen again.
Oh yeah.
That was something FWC just did a absolute crap job of implementing and putting together, and just got it completely shut down. I mean, we need it bad. Our bear population is through the roof, but they just did pretty much. They were like, hey, if you want to kill a bear, pay $150, but we only want like 250 bears killed. And then within the first like 10 hours of the hunt, they had killed.
It was like 36 hours, a day and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. They had killed like 300 or 400.
They went about 40 bears over quota in 36 hours.
That's insane. And I'm assuming most of those bears are in the northern part of the state.
No,
they're all over the state.
Yeah, they're all over the state. I think we have the highest populace of bears here in the Central Florida area.
Yeah.
And why did they get rid of? So they got rid of it completely.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
The bear hunt is currently in the state of Florida right now. We have a bear hunt, but the tag limit is 0. It is on the books. It exists. There is a season. In the way that
Just like on pause.
pretty much, right? So they went from where they were a few years ago, 2015.
Yeah.
And where it was open to the whole state, just get after it, right? To now where the bear hunt is set up very similar to the alligator hunt. You're going to draw a bear management unit. You're going to have a tag for that unit, and then you can kill a bear in that unit. Whereas before it was pretty much free game. Pay the $150, go out, kill a bear. Now it's much better regulated, and hopefully, probably in the next couple years, we'll see a bear hunt happen in the Zone D area, which is in the Panhandle of Florida. It's more accepted there because there's less people from New Jersey in the Panhandle area. I mean, that's what it really boils down to. So when the bear hunt happened in 2015, I believe it was very public. It was very published to the public, and the check-in stations and all that stuff everything was public. So there was a big outcry. People everywhere, anti-hunting groups were all over the place about it. And now it's much better regulated, which is how it should have been the first time.
Yeah, I would say the problem was they made it so public the first time that the anti-hunting groups were able to get a hold of it. And then because of the way they set it up, the anti-hunting groups just tried to make it look like it was a slaughter. And
what makes them?
Unfortunately, FWC kind of cares too much about public opinion.
Bears are just one of those animals, kind of like wolves. They're an apex predator, but people also love them. And it's the people who don't hunt or the anti-hunters.
I would say, man, honestly,
Charismatic.
for us, it's not even like necessarily the bears like an apex predator getting into like killing deer as much as it is Florida has become so populated that they are in neighborhoods and like you can't even put your trash out without having a bear rip your trash can to pieces and spread your trash for 400 yards either direction on the road.
Bears are charismatic megafauna. And the perfect example of what Jordan was saying was there is currently a bill in the House, the state of Florida, to it's a stand your ground law against bears.
Okay.
Because currently, right now, like if a bear's trying to steal your dog and you shoot it, there's a huge investigation that goes on around that.
If you shoot a bear that's attacking your dog, and there's a big deal about it.
100%. But the stand your ground law would allow you, if you come out of your house and the bear is in your garbage and you're like, whoa, hey bear, and the bear doesn't leave, the bear tries to come into the garage, you're free reign to put a cap in him. And there's no investigation. The game warden shows up and says, hey, what happened? Why did you kill this bear? He's like, he tried to get in my house. It seems that somebody broke into your house.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that we have to try and codify a law like that is absolutely fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. That's why I'm flabbergasted. I'm like, why? Who the fuck's going to go shoot a bear?
Did you give him verbal command? Oh, you didn't?
Put your hands up.
Come to jail with me, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
You just killed an innocent black bear.
What the fuck? That's gotta be a law. Oh my gosh.
That's funny. I'm actually surprised that they have that for Florida of all states.
But I mean, we had a bear hunt up until the late 80s in some parts of Florida, and actually, it was the last places that had a bear hunt was in the Panhandle, which is ironically enough probably the first place it'll start because it's likely because it's the last place to stop.
Yeah,
it's very rural up there. You literally, like, we had a deer lease last year in Alabama, and you hit a point where we're driving through I-10. We're like, are we in Alabama yet? Like, no, we're still in Florida. Like, oh, really? The Florida Alabama line gets really blurred and Florida Georgia line gets really blurred when you get up into the Panhandle. It's not like what you think of Florida. That's one of the things. Like when I was in the Army, people were like, "Oh, where are you from?" I'm like, "I'm from Florida." Like, "Oh, you're from Miami?" I'm like, "No." Orlando? No. Middle of nowhere, man. Like we don't have like I'm an hour from Disney World. Oh, what's there? I'm like, nothing.
Yeah. I leave the house within like a 30-minute radius. I think I have a Publix, a Taco Bell, and a McDonald's.
You don't have fast food up there where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I told my wife when I first started dating my wife. I was like, man, she's like, we should eat over there. I'm like, there's nothing good to eat over here. And she just told me the other night, she was like, I now see why, like when we first started dating, why you were like, there's nothing good to eat over here. Because you're like, where do you want to go to eat? You're like, I really don't feel like driving 30 minutes to go get some nice sit down food. I don't know.
I got 2 questions before we end the night. One, what the fuck is the Panhandle? Can we please?
You don't know what the Panhandle is?
No,
so
it's been
Florida
dying,
is like you get your big
Florida
shaft.
Florida is the dick of the United States.
Yeah.
The Panhandle is the taint.
Okay,
Exactly.
I had a feeling. I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure I was on the same
Like the
page.
Gulf. Like the Gulf.
Yeah,
that's the
it's
thing.
Florida's L-shaped, so but it's like an upside down L. You're looking at the bottom of the L at the top. You're talking like
Pensacola.
I would say if you want to get technical, before Florida was a state, the capital of Florida was Baton Rouge.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Huh.
That's why they called it the Panhandle then.
Yeah, so I mean, well, Texas has a panhandle. Oklahoma has a panhandle. It's the little part of the state that sticks out versus the rest of it.
It's like the handle of a pan.
Yeah. So when you look at Florida, you can literally cut a straight line up, and that's going to be, South Central, North Florida, and then when you look to the left, that's the Panhandle. If you're looking north to south, when you look west, that's your Panhandle area, and it pretty much cuts off. I would say the Panhandle where the north to south Florida goes, straight up and down, and then you look at anything that goes west from north to south, that's Panhandle area.
Huh. See, you learned something new, Dan. I did.
Yep.
So don't fucking yell at me again, okay?
No, I learned stuff tonight too, but I already knew the Panhandle thing.
Well, fuck you, Dan. I didn't. That's why I asked.
It's part of the shape. It's the part of the state that's shaped like the handle of a pan.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, right. It's the part of the state that everybody who grew up in Florida wishes they could go afford to buy a house and live there, because that's what Florida used to be before it is what it is now.
Overrun by New Yorkers.
People from Michigan.
And fucking Michiganders.
Yankees.
Damn
Yep,
Yankees.
Yankee folk.
Yeah. That's all right. My dad was born in Ohio. He moved here when he was 3, and I still call him a Yankee.
And
I like the Panhandle area.
the
What
last
was your
question, the last one what's your favorite hunting story that is going to last with you forever? Like, what's your number one? Like, oh man.
I know yours is sold.
100%. Had you asked me this like 7 months ago, I'd had a totally different story for you. But now my hands down favorite hunting story that will last with me for forever.
It's on YouTube.
It is on YouTube. It's on our YouTube. It's my son's first deer, his first 2 deer, which happened this season. We took him up to Alabama for the youth season. And he's 7, and he's been hunting with me since he was in diapers when we started wandering the woods together. And the kid he does 2 things. He hunts and he plays baseball. And when he went to he first started his spring baseball team this year, the coach was like, "What else do you guys like to do besides baseball?" The kid said, "I like to hunt." So we got it handled. Okay? Hunting and baseball, that's it. And they're great because they don't take place at the same time. But we took him up this year. It was like early October, something like that.
Because I shot mine October 8th. So it was after that. So, yeah.
Yeah. The deer season starts late in Alabama, but take him up there. And during the youth weekend took place between the last weekend of bow season to starting of muzzleloader, and youth could hunt with a rifle. So we take him up there, and I'm not a big fan of buying a youth rifle. So I've got my 7-year-old hunting with an AR-15 chambered and 6.8 SPC because I can make that fit me and I can make that fit him. And it did the job to the T. Took him out the first morning. It rained, put him in a ground blind. The kid still thinks he can't see deer off a ground blind because it was raining and he didn't see deer. Took him to the same spot in the afternoon, but it wasn't raining. So we sat in the ladder stand that was behind where we set the ground blind up. And just before dark, this little 5-point starts walking up the food plot from about 150 yards out. And he's just the excitement that I could feel from him. I mean, I was excited too, believe me. I was more excited for him to kill a deer than I've ever been to kill a deer. And that buck walked up, and I just remember saying, wait till he turns broadside, wait till he turns broadside. And then he turned. I was like, okay, you can shoot. You know, I just whisper in his ear, make sure you don't see any black in the scope, aim for the shoulder, squeeze the trigger, and just keep saying that over and over again. And then bam, that buck dropped. Boom, right there. I mean, laid against the edge of the feeder, the leg of the feeder, just graveyard dead. On top of that, he kills that buck Saturday afternoon. We take it to the processor, and we go to leave. He's like, I'll see you tomorrow. And we all laugh like, ha, 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 yeah, see you tomorrow. And then he wakes up Sunday morning and kills a doe.
Oh,
Funny.
So, yeah, we did see him tomorrow. He's my freezer filler, hence the reason I've decided to go ahead and switch all the way to traditional archery now with a recurve bow. And he's the freezer filler. So
yeah,
that is hands down my favorite story. And you can definitely watch it on our YouTube. It's like a 30-minute video of both those deer. Jordan filmed it like a true cameraman from behind us. Neither one of us could hunt. I guess we could have bow hunted, but that was all about him, and he had a freaking blast.
That's awesome to hear, man. I know Dan's getting anxious to get his kid out there to go hunting, and mine are too young, so it's going to be a couple of years down the road. But yeah, I know his going to be pretty much right around the corner.
Oh, I've got a 4-year-old daughter that I took out this year squirrel hunting, and she's just chomping at the bit. She's ready to go.
Also, I got a 1-month-old, and I've already told my wife, like, as soon as I can, I'm strapping her to my chest and I'm scouting with her. Like, whether she can walk or not, she's getting strapped to my chest and we're going scouting.
Well, usually at 1 month old, a lot of them, they have the low bilirubin levels. So getting that extra sun on them, you can.
Oh, yeah. She loves hanging out outside.
Kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah.
What's your favorite story?
Oh, dude. You already know that. This past year, so we grew up primarily outside of that dog hunting days. Our dad had a lease in Alabama or in Georgia. So most of our lives was spent hunting in South Georgia. And then as I got older, I got a job and it just got harder to get to that lease. And so I started kind of dabbling in hunting in Florida at like 16, 17. And I hunted public land a little bit. And then as I got even older, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this for real. And I just tried, never killed some. So this past season, I told my wife, I was like, I'm going to kill a deer in Florida this year. Like, it is going to happen. 28 years later, I went out this season and I just scouted like no tomorrow. I mean, before season, every single weekend I was out scouting. And I got a redraw, which is where we have our quota permits. You get regular draws. And then if somebody gets a permit and then turns it back in because they have a wedding or something like that, it comes up on a redraw. And there was a WMA close to me that I knew had good deer on it. And I got a redraw for that WMA. So went out, scouted it with a buddy. And that permit was 16 days long. I hunted that permit for every single day of that permit, I was out there trying to find something, trying. And I generally hunted the same little block area of that permit. And then on the last day, I was like, man, I got in my head. I said, should I move areas? Because I've scouted other areas out here and I know that these areas look good, but something in my head said, hey, stay in the block that you've been in, but move over here to this fire break and hunt. Because the fire break went through some mature pines, but then on one side of it, it had kind of a transition area where a bay head, which is like bay trees. It's a good wet area. Bay trees stay in the wetter areas. And there was a good bay head, like right on the edge of this fire break. And I said, I'm going to wait till the sun comes up just a little bit. And I'm going to walk in without a flashlight. And I'm just going to get set up somewhere that seems good to me near this bay head. So I get in there and I sit all day long. I mean, just about all day. I hunted till 11 o'clock. And at 11 o'clock, I hear, because, most of the time when I'm out there in the palmettos, there's a bunch of little finches and you can hear the finches like rustling around. It sounds like a deer. So I hear something behind me. And I'm like, it's just one of those damn birds again. And I look back and I see a set of antlers like over top of a palmetto just dip down and come back up. And I was like, oh shit, there's a deer. So I'm like kind of looking over my right shoulder and I'm like, all right, he's going to move. And then I'm trying to like fiddle fart with my big camera to get it to turn on so I can see behind me or get it on film behind me. And I can't get the damn camera. The screen wasn't working for some reason, so I couldn't see that it was recording, and I was like, shit. So I pushed the big camera to the side, and I looked back, and I grabbed my grunt call. And about as soon as I grabbed my grunt call, he steps out 35 yards behind me into a lane. And I'm like, damn, I don't have my bow drawn back or nothing. He gets to the middle of that lane. I said, Matt. He stopped and looked dead at me. Still no bow drawn. So I managed to get my bow back. And by the time I get my bow back, I realize I'm in my saddle. So turning to my right, I should have turned to my left to shoot behind me. But I go to turn to my right and I realize as my bow's back that to get to him, there's another tree in my way. So I have to take my bow, go up around this tree, and then come back down on the other side of it. And I do all this movement while he's watching me. And then I release. And as soon as I release, I hear that whack. And I'm like, I instantly call, I think I called my buddy before I called William. And I'm like, dude, I just shot. I mean, dude, the YouTube video is like a constant like bleep, 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 bleep. Cause I'm like, dude, I just shot the biggest fucking deer in my life. Like, holy shit. Like, and dude, it was insane, man. That was out of all the deer I've killed in Georgia, anywhere else, that was the biggest rush I've ever had. Cause it was just, I put so much time into a public land deer in Florida, my home state that I've lived my whole life. It's the first deer I've ever killed in Florida.
Hey, it took me I was 31 when I killed my first deer in Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, I hunted public in Florida. I really didn't jump into my public land game heavy until I joined the Army, and hunted in Tennessee and Georgia and stuff like that on public land. But it took me 31 years to kill one here in Florida. Not that I hunted heavily here, but that was definitely a success as well.
Yeah.
I just love when a plan works, when everything falls in place and you set one of those goals and you achieve it, it's rewarding.
Yeah. It was bittersweet.
Oh yeah.
It's on for next year though. It's game on from here though. Persimmons. Yeah. Persimmons is another,
we don't have them very heavily here in our area,
like Matanzas and stuff.
Yeah,
a little further north. I was persimmons are heavy.
Persimmons.
Well, Dan, was there any last questions before we let them go? Because man, this is an entertaining show.
No, I didn't really have any questions. I just wanted to thank you guys for your time. I really appreciated chatting with you guys and finding out more about Florida and just enjoying a good conversation about hunting and stuff like that. And then also congrats on the birth of your daughter, by the way. Your brother told us before you got here.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. It's been sleepless, but it's been fun.
Oh yeah.
Thank you guys for having us. When you're ready to leave the Great White North and venture down here, you got my number. Got our numbers. Give us a call.
Oh,
we'll be coming down. We're going down to Orange Beach, Alabama, next year, like in February. We're coming down. I'm taking my family for vacation.
So you'll be near the Panhandle.
Yeah, the Panhandle. See, that's how I was familiar with it, because we've been there a couple times already.
Yeah, you're in an area there in Florida, as Floridians referred to as Florabama.
Yep. Yeah. Like where we have stayed the last couple times is like right down the road from the bar, from the from the Florabama bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that you saw on the TV shows.
Yeah.
It's a good time. I like it there.
Yeah. Hey, if you're ever ready to kill some alligators, let us know too. We can make it happen.
I would definitely be down for that.
Oh yeah, I want to hunt some dinosaurs. That's for sure.
Come on, we'll make it happen.
Well, thanks again, guys, for taking the time to come out and talk with us. I know you guys are very busy and with the schedules, everything, and yeah, man, we really appreciate the time that you guys took to come talk to us on the show. And
thank you.
Yeah, man, it's been fun being the guest for once.
Yeah.
We're gonna get on your YouTube. I want to watch the hunts that you guys were telling us about. So
yeah, both my story and Jordan's story are up there. So if you want to watch them, they're up there. So
we've got a couple podcasts on YouTube, but we just got a new camera too, so we're working on upping the audio and everything, video and everything for YouTube.
We are by no means new to the podcast game, but definitely new to the YouTube game. So bear with us for a moment.
I'm new to everything, so yeah,
we're
no criticism from me. But yeah, thank you again, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night. We'll talk to you later.
We'll see you guys.
Well.
Wow, that was a fun show.
Oh yeah,
we kind of went from all different parts of hunting down there.
Oh yeah, it was just a good overview of the state.
Yeah,
and hunting in the state of Florida in general, not just whitetail, but
no,
it was good conversation either way.
And lizard hunting or iguana hunting,
I was aware of that. I have been seeing a lot of videos about that. Like they're definitely a nuisance down there.
Huh. I went down to Florida though once when I was in the 7th grade, and I saw those. I think it was those geckos. I saw those things. Those were pretty cool.
Yeah, those are all over. But no, it's like a legit iguana, like a nasty ass, big ass mini Komodo dragon looking thing.
They don't look like they taste good at all, though. They look like they taste like ass.
I mean,
that's just my preference.
I don't know. Frogs. I do know that frog legs were surprisingly good, and for them to compare them to frog legs, then I'd say I would try it for sure.
Well, tomorrow we're back at it again at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got tomorrow, and then Thursday we got 2 more shows for the rest of the week, and then we're done. But I think we had a fun show tonight. Looking forward to tomorrow. We got great guests, and are you ready to take the show out for the night and call it a good night?
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah.
I'm about to pass out.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.